So nice to have us all together. And taking this time to find our seat that we are so used to sitting in, wherever that may be. Letting that bell be the call of mindfulness, bringing us from our hopefully busy yet mindful, moving life while walking and talking, and now coming together for sitting and quieting the heart and the mind. Once again in our Sangha. Finding our seat, beginning to let the body settle, welcome each other of all of our ages and ethnicities and cultural heritage and religious backgrounds and the various socioeconomic groups we come from and our abilities and sexual orientation and gender identity. Just welcoming each other in our various complexities of identities and coming together in the practice that we are undertaking together of finding freedom from suffering, and also recognizing and honoring the indigenous peoples of the region that we are inhabiting. Multnomah, Tualatin, Siletz, Cowlitz, all the First Nations people that made their homes here for 11,000 years before us. And studying and practicing together for the benefit of all beings and this living earth. And as we sit ourselves, we begin to really realize that this living earth is within us. All of these elements of earth and air and fire and water that exists within us, that we are a part of the earth and a part of nature. And letting ourselves find the breath wherever we feel it the most, whatever we use for our beginning anchor to help us still the body, quiet the mind, and find ways of deepening our concentration. Beginning at first to just use a single anchor of the breath at the nostrils or at the belly, or maybe using a touch point. But oftentimes feeling the breath at the belly is one of the most grounding and useful places to notice the breath, because it brings us right into our diaphragm and it brings us into our bodies, feeling pressure and warmth and release of pressure and coolness as we breathe in and out, just settling on the breath at first, wherever it is for us. And I'm going to take a few moments to just honor the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. If you want to do it along with me, you can. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranam gacchami, Dhanang saranam gacchami, Sanghang saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhanang saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranam gacchami, Tatyampi Buddhang saranam gacchami, Tatyampi Dhanang saranam gacchami, Tatyampi Sanghang saranam gacchami. Taking refuge in the Buddha and the possibility of enlightenment, awakening, opening, letting go in this very lifetime. And to the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha that were laid out so clearly, and the teachings that we find true for ourselves. And taking refuge in the Sangha, each other in the Sangha, those Sanghas that have gone before us for many, many generations, passing down through the lineage so that we might hear the Dhamma, practice the teachings, and see for ourselves. See for ourselves that what is arising is passing away. And we can see this very clearly in the use of our breath. We can notice the beginning of it, the middle of it, and we can even notice the end of it, and that space in between before it arises or passes away again. The arising and passing without controlling it, letting mindfulness be present, and just noticing. The inhale feels like this. And the exhale feels like this. And if we're lucky, maybe we can actually attend to a breath or two before we get lost in thoughts. That's what happens at the mind door. We can just make a soft, gentle note that thinking is occurring. And we can wake up in that moment to be present. We can return to the breath to help settle into a little more concentration. Or we can open to passing objects. So thinking might be happening, we note that. Maybe feeling is happening somewhere in the body, sensation is happening. Vedana, noticing pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, both in thoughts and in noticing sensations in the body, or any of the sense doors of hearing and seeing and smelling and tasting. So we can settle with the breath at an anchor at a single spot for a while to just let the hindrances be noticed and relaxed so that they don't grab us so quickly. Or if we feel fairly settled as we start, we can note the changing objects. We can notice what comes into our consciousness. Mindfulness is there, awareness is there, and we can use that ability of noting to keep ourselves interested and not too lost in a long thought about the future or the past. We can just notice pleasant or unpleasant, whether it's a sensation or a thought. Just training the heart and mind, taming it to try to be with 1 or 2 or 3 seconds of the present moment and bringing it back over and over again. Oftentimes as we sit, we might notice the presence of dukkha, that we have desires for our life to be pleasant and comfortable. And yet, as we sit sometimes and examine our experiences, we find that it's not always the case. We have something coming up that isn't so pleasant or not so comfortable. And it's true of all of us, everyone else. Part of the samsara, part of being born into this life. We start noticing physical pain when we sit. We might find ourselves suffering because things change. And we can really see directly that all things that arise contain these seeds of suffering, discontent. And so sometimes this can help us bring up an intention, an intent, a commitment to ourselves to go forth from this world that is so challenging, realizing that there is freedom from this suffering. And we realize it as we sit directly by noticing that there's nothing really to cling to. There's nothing to hang on to. And we sometimes can begin to see that there's no real solid sense of self. But with mindfulness and awareness, we just continue seeing this over and over and over again wherever we put our attention, wherever mindfulness goes and awareness is present. We can see the constantly changing nature of what's arising. And that it's passing away. So difficult mind states, joyous mind states, we notice pleasant or unpleasant, and we notice, if we stay aware with just enough effort to be interested, that it passes. And we begin to really see anicca, anatta, and dukkha. The constantly changing nature. There's no solid sense of self. And we see this through noticing our discontent. And so we make this inner vow perhaps to stay awake or wake up every moment that we can, or realize that we have a chance to make something of our life, commit ourselves to some practice. We have our health, we have energy, we have the ability to think and to feel freely, and we have enough food and enough money to meet our needs. We live in a country that's free of war and many other difficulties that people can face. We're not trapped in a negative state of mind like madness or craving or hatred or depression. All of these things can change. But while we have these advantages, we have a great opportunity. And we have had the good fortune to meet the Dharma. And that's what the Buddha taught. And it's been practiced for so many generations. Thanks to our teachers, it's come here into this country and in a form that we can understand and accept. And we have Sangha with each other. We can help each other, guide each other with friendship. And all these conditions have made the Dharma present in our lives and made its practice possible for us. And so we want to make use of the opportunity that's offered. Maybe some of our life we notice passes by in unawareness. And so how strongly our habits can strain us. But we have an opportunity to see what happens in this present moment and not waste this chance as we commit ourselves to practice as fully as we can in this present moment, arising and passing away, appreciating this human birth and being willing to look at what changes, what's difficult, how it passes. One breath at a time. Whether it's at the nostrils, or whether it's in the belly, or whether it's the touch point that we're noticing. We just return over and over again with kindness to ourselves, to this moment. What is happening right now? And are we okay with it? And so the practice really begins over and over again at that anchor point. We may reflect upon the Dhamma, skillful thoughts. We may let go of thoughts that aren't useful for us and just begin again in this moment. Nurturing the skillful and letting go of the unskillful. Returning to the breath. What does it feel like right now? Warm, cool, deep or slow, short, jagged. This is what's happening right now. And we stay attentive to that moment by moment awareness, having continuity of practice as much as we can, moment to moment awareness. And so we have this opportunity over and over again to realize that everything around us, everything within us is changing. This truth of impermanence. Everything in the universe, from the smallest atom to stars and galaxies, is changing all the time. And we see this directly, breath by breath, the changing nature of the breath. Or we notice what we might be grasping onto when our mind wanders off in thought, or the mind sinks into sloth and torpor, or perhaps there's grasping and clinging that arises. But we just make that vow, that intention to begin again. Wherever we wake up, oh boy, that's a moment of waking up. We're not hard on ourselves. We just remind ourselves that we are waking up again in this moment to see the impermanent nature of whatever we're attending to. Maybe we wake up most of the time in the middle of a long thought form, or in the middle of something taking us inward, but we're not paying attention. And sometimes we can actually see when something actually ends. This is very important, to be able to see when something ends, when this moment ends and the next one begins. And so sometimes we wake up right in the middle of the moment and we say, oh, what's happening now? Wherever we find ourselves, we just begin again, start right there, a wakeful moment. We can't really affect what happens to us, but we can influence our responses. So when we wake up in this moment, we can really acknowledge and have the opportunity to realize that it's a moment of waking up. We're present with whatever's happening. Dwelling calmly in this fact of change that we're seeing directly, this impermanence of arising and passing away. And we can encourage our minds to be present, to let go of clinging and aversion, embracing non-harming, being kind to ourselves, and beginning again over and over to really see clearly what's changing right in front of us. And this understanding of continuity of practice, we bring awareness, we bring mindfulness to every movement, every intention, every thought as best we can, every sensation, wherever the mind goes. Mindfulness wants to be there with it. Awareness of its changing nature over and over again. What is the attitude of the mind and what is happening right now? And is that all right with us? Can we be with it the way it is? Can we be aware and awake and interested in it? So we keep establishing these positive intentions, becoming aware of what's happening, letting go of what seems to be unskillful, and inclining the heart and mind toward skillful thoughts, skillful attention to what's happening right now, awareness of whatever's happening. If we happen to notice areas that we might be clinging to something, wanting our practice to be a certain way, or wanting to hold on to something that seems pleasant, we might notice what impulses remain when we stop clinging. What is actually on the other side of letting go? The defilements depend on clinging. Greed and hatred require clinging. Love and loving kindness asks that we let go. That we notice that loving kindness and goodwill is waiting there all along. And so we can let ourselves touch into this sense of kindness and letting go, an unmanufactured, a spontaneous, a really kind of wonder into that open spaciousness of non-harming, this true nature of allowing goodness to be present, to hold ourselves in goodness and in kindness. And so we notice perhaps what we cling to, and as we let it go, we can open to this expression of kindness, holding ourselves gently in this awareness of our true goodness. Awareness just keeps letting go into this unknown vastness. Even the very nature of attending to our breath is letting go. We release the beginning of the breath where it releases on its own, so that we can be with the middle, and we release the middle to be with the end. And so our aliveness, our awakeness becomes more vibrant as we hold this sense of goodwill and kindness toward ourselves, wishing in gladness that we be free from harm, safe and protected. And as we nurture this love and kindness, goodwill for ourselves, we let this expand to another, a friend, a benefactor, a person that it's easy to have kindness in our hearts for. Seeing who comes to heart and mind. Whatever phrases you use for yourself, or feeling, sensing in the body, wishing this person well. that they be happy and healthy and take care of themselves happily. Be at ease. And letting this person that we're focusing on be set aside with ourselves, and choose another person that comes to mind that you have goodwill toward, a friend, benefactor, and an easy person to hold in our goodwill. Letting them come to mind, letting our hearts include them in feeling kindness, compassion. May they be at ease. May they be free from harm. Sometimes different scenarios come into the mind as we envision a close friend or a teacher or benefactor. Things that can help keep the mind interested. When I was on this retreat just now and different people were sharing what some of their Metta experiences were, it was really interesting to hear people say, well, I was having a picnic in my backyard and each of these people was there. And then what it was like at the end when they were all together and they didn't know each other and they were getting along. So however we keep ourselves interested, we bring another person into our consciousness. A friend, a benefactor, wishing this person well, that they be free from harm and safe and protected and have ease in their lives. We have compassion for their difficulties, joy for their joys. We hold them in well-being. As we develop this as a concentration practice ourselves by imagining or saying the phrases over or letting our awareness be just on a single object. Now it's of a person. It's a concentration practice that helps keep out the defilements, helps keep out the hindrances. We might notice we haven't had grasping and clinging thoughts because we're letting this kindness flow to others. And as we broaden our awareness of others, we bring in a neutral person or neutral people. What comes to mind? Who comes to mind? Who have you seen recently that you don't really know, but you can bring kindness from your heart to embrace them, that they may be at ease and have goodwill. May they be free from harm and protected and safe. Keeping ourselves present in this moment, breath by breath, holding the vastness of our hearts to allow others to come in, others that we know and others that we don't know. Wishing in gladness and in safety that all beings be free from harm. Free from affliction, free from ill will, those known and unknown. Those in extreme suffering and those in joy. Those with many, many, many legs, those with no legs. All beings everywhere, seen and unseen, under the waters, deep in the darkness of the waters, and in the skies, far above us, beings, known and unknown. Those that are enlightened and those that are unenlightened. May all beings everywhere have happiness and the causes of happiness, be free from harm, safe and protected, and have ease. I'm going to share my screen so that we can close our meditation time with this chant on universal well-being. Now let us chant the reflections on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their actions and inherit its results. Their future is born of such action, companion to such action, and its results will be their home. All actions with intentions, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. May we keep in mind the results of our actions, that we are owners of our actions, and notice our intentions, trying to be skillful. Of course, sometimes we're harmful, knowingly or unknowingly, but we have awareness and we bring it to whatever's happening. So doing our best to have the intention to act in a skillful manner and let go of the unskillful. Anicca vata sankara upadavaya domino upakitava meruchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. And may we continue touching on that greatest happiness, arising and passing away, and seeing it clearly. And may we really realize and remember that the practice that we generate is of great benefit to all beings, no matter what it's like. So thank you for your practice.